My mother used me as a retirement plan and emotional support animal for 30 years, until I finally blew up our lives. Okay, Reddit. Deep breaths. I don't even know where to start, honestly. My hands are still shaking a little bit, even though the blow up happened a few weeks ago. It feels like years. Like a lifetime ago. It's that feeling when you step off a roller coaster, your legs are wobbly, your ears are ringing, but you're also weirdly exhilarated because, holy crap, you survived. Except this wasn't a fun ride. This was 3 decades of buildup finally detonating in a way that scorched everything around it. My relationship with my mother, my place in my extended family, maybe even my own understanding of who I am. It's a lot. And I genuinely need to know if I'm the monster she's painting me as, or if I just finally grew a spine. It started, as these things often do, with good news. My good news, anyway. I've been working towards this specific career goal for, no joke, 10 years. Countless late nights, ramen noodle dinners, skip social events, pouring every spare cent into certifications and courses. It's a niche field, combining environmental science with urban planning, and a prestigious research institute based in Freiburg, Germany, yes, Germany, offered me a 3-year fellowship. It wasn't just a job, it was the job. The kind of opportunity that makes you feel like maybe all the struggle was actually worth something. Full funding, working with literal pioneers in the field, living in the freaking Black Forest. I cried when I got the email. Happy tears, the ugly kind where you can't breathe properly. My partner, Ben, bless his ridiculously supportive heart, was over the moon. We'd been doing long distance for the past year while he finished his residency. He's a doctor, yeah, I know, total catch, and the plan was always for me to join him wherever he landed a permanent position. But this Freiburg thing. It was a game changer. It was my dream, finally taking center stage. Ben immediately started looking up German language apps and researching visa requirements for partners. We'll make it work, Maya, he said, grinning like an idiot. Worst case, I rack up some serious frequent flyer miles. Best case, I find a way to work there too. This is huge. And it was huge. It felt like my whole life was finally clicking into place. I'm 31, by the way. Not exactly a kid. Ready to launch, you know? So, the logical next step was telling my mom. My mom, Joanne. Single mother since my dad left when I was 5. She raised me, worked 2 jobs sometimes, sacrificed. A lot. And for my entire life, that sacrifice has been the unspoken, and often spoken, currency in our relationship. Every favor asked, every boundary pushed, every guilt trip launched, it all came back to after everything I've done for you. I knew telling her about Germany would be tricky. She lives about an hour away now, in the same suburban town where I grew up. I'm her only child. Her world, as she frequently reminds me, revolves around me. Not in a healthy, supportive way, but in a way that feels like I'm carrying the weight of her entire emotional ecosystem on my shoulders. My job, my friends, my partners, they've always been evaluated based on how they impact her. Proximity was key. My previous job was good, but acceptable mainly because it kept me within easy driving distance for her emergencies, which ranged from a flat tire to needing someone to watch a particularly sad movie with her. Ben was initially viewed with suspicion because his residency meant we couldn't easily pop over for Sunday dinner every single week. I decided to tell her in person. Drive down, take her to lunch at her favorite slightly too expensive bistro, cushion the blow. Like handling a volatile chemical. I practiced my lines in the car. Mom, I have amazing news. Followed by enthusiasm, emphasizing the prestige, framing it as something she could be proud of. Maybe downplay the distance initially? No, that felt dishonest. Rip the band-aid off. I got to the bistro, found her already seated, nursing an iced tea and scanning the menu with that focused intensity she reserves for potential complaints. Maya, finally. Traffic was bad? No hello, just straight into the implication that I was late, which I wasn't. Standard opening gambit. Hi Mom, I said, sliding into the booth. Traffic was fine. How are you? Oh, you know, she sighed, waving vaguely. The usual aches and pains. Mrs. Henderson next door thinks her cat has anxiety. The world keeps turning. She gave the waiter a strained smile. Ready to order? I know what I want. We ordered. Small talk ensued. Her garden. The neighbor's cat's alleged anxiety. A critique of the local news anchor's haircut. All the while, I felt the Germany news bubbling up inside me like indigestion. There was never a good time with her, just varying degrees of less bad. Finally, over salads, I took a deep breath. Mom, I actually have some really big news. Exciting news. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Oh? I got offered that fellowship I applied for. The one I told you about? At the institute in Germany? Silence. She put her fork down. Her expression didn't change, not exactly, but it froze. Like a mask solidifying. Germany, she repeated flatly. Not a question. A statement of fact, loaded with unspoken accusation. Yeah. In Freiburg. It's an incredible opportunity. 3 years, fully funded research. My voice started to sound unnaturally high, cheerful, desperate. Germany, she said again, louder this time. A woman at the next table glanced over. You're moving to Germany? Well, yes. That's where the institute is. For 3 years? Her voice cracked on the 3. That's the initial fellowship period, yes. Mom, this is huge, it's everything I've been working towards. And what about me? Her eyes, usually a pale blue, seemed to darken. What am I supposed to do? You're just going to abandon me? There it was. Abandon. The nuclear option in her guilt arsenal. Mom, I'm not abandoning you. It's Germany, not the moon. We have phones, video calls, I can fly back. Oh, sure, she sneered, her voice dripping sarcasm. Easy for you to say. You'll be off having your adventure while I'm here, all alone. What if something happens? What if I fall? Who's going to check on me? Who's going to help me with the house, the bills, Her voice hitched. Who's going to be here for me? My stomach clenched. This was exactly what I'd feared, but hearing it aloud, in public, felt like a physical blow. Mom, we can figure things out. We can set up systems. Maybe hire someone for heavier chores? Aunt Carol is nearby. Carol? She scoffed. Carol has her own life. Unlike me. My life was you. Raising you. Making sure you had everything you needed. I put my own dreams on hold for you, Maya. Did you ever think about that? I could have remarried, I could have traveled, I could have finished my degree. But no, I stayed. For you. Tears welled in her eyes. Genuine tears, I think. Or maybe expertly deployed waterworks. With her, it was always hard to tell. The line between genuine maternal feeling and manipulative tactic was blurry, possibly non-existent. And this is how you repay me? She whispered, leaning forward. By running off to the other side of the world the first chance you get? Leaving me completely alone when I'm getting older, when I need you. My own emotions started to surge, anger, frustration, and the crushing weight of ingrained guilt. Mom, this isn't about repaying you. This is my life. My career. The one you always said you wanted me to have. You pushed me to study hard, get good grades. So you could stay here. She interrupted, her voice rising again. Get a nice, stable job nearby. Settle down. Give me grandchildren I could actually see. Not so you could disappear too. To Germany. She said the country name like it was a slur. I'm 31 years old. The words burst out of me, louder than I intended. Heads definitely turned now. I can't plan my entire future around being within a 1-hour radius of your house. That's not fair. Fair? She laughed, a short, bitter sound. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I gave up my youth, my chances, my everything, for a daughter who throws it all back in my face the minute something better comes along? That's not what I'm doing. My hands were gripping the edge of the table. This isn't about you. Why does everything always have to be about you? Her face crumpled. This time, the tears looked agonizingly real. Because I have no one else, Maya. You're all I have. And that? That was the killer line. The one that always worked. The one that made me feel like the most selfish, horrible daughter on the planet. It conjured images of her lonely in her house, aging, vulnerable, all because of me. It was the ultimate guilt trip, perfected over 3 decades. The waiter arrived with our main courses, sensing the tension, placing the plates down with awkward haste before retreating. The food sat there, forgotten. The air crackled. Mom, I said, my voice trembling now. I love you. But I have to do this. For me. Please. Try to understand. Try to be happy for me. She stared at her plate, refusing to look at me. I don't think I can, she whispered. I honestly don't think I can be happy about you abandoning me. Lunch ended in stony silence. I paid the bill. She barely spoke on the walk back to her car. As I hugged her goodbye, a stiff, awkward embrace, she pulled back and looked me dead in the eye. You'll regret this, Maya, she said, her voice flat, devoid of emotion. One day, you'll understand what you've thrown away. And I hope it's not too late. Then she got in her car and drove off, leaving me standing on the curb, feeling like I'd just confessed to a heinous crime instead of sharing the best news of my life. The exhilaration I'd felt was gone, replaced by a sickening dread and the familiar, heavy cloak of guilt. Driving home, the conversation replayed in my head, twisting and turning. Was she right? Was I being selfish? Abandoning her? But another part of me, a smaller, angrier part, was screaming, what about my life? When do I get to live my life? This wasn't new, of course. This dynamic, this push and pull, this weaponization of guilt, it was the bedrock of our relationship. Looking back, it's almost comical how textbook it all seems now, but when you're living in it, it's just normal. I remember being a kid, maybe 8 or 9. My dad had been gone a few years. Mom worked long hours as a receptionist and then cleaned offices in the evening. We didn't have much money. One night, she came home exhausted, her feet clearly aching. I'd forgotten to take the chicken out of the freezer like she'd asked. It wasn't defiance, I just genuinely forgot, lost in a book. She didn't yell. Worse. She slumped onto a kitchen chair and just started crying. Softly, despairingly. I work so hard, Maya, she sobbed. So hard. And it's never enough. I can't even count on you for one small thing. I'm doing this all alone. I felt like I'd kicked a puppy. I apologized profusely, helped her massage her feet, promised I'd never forget again. And I rarely did. From then on, her burdens felt like mine. Her tiredness was my fault. Her loneliness was my responsibility. I became hyper-aware of her moods, constantly trying to anticipate her needs, to smooth things over, to make her happy. I was her little caretaker, her emotional barometer. High school was worse. Boyfriends were scrutinized not for how they treated me, but for how convenient they were for her. Did they have a car to help ferry things? Were their parents potential social connections? Did they take up too much of my time I should be spending with her? My first serious boyfriend, Tom, was deemed unsuitable because his family lived across town, making spontaneous drop-ins difficult. She'd sigh dramatically whenever I mentioned plans with him. Oh, Tom again? Well, I guess I'll just have another thrilling Saturday night watching reruns by myself. Subtle, right? When I was applying to colleges, my dream was a small liberal arts school on the East Coast. It had a fantastic writing program. I got in, even got a partial scholarship. Mom's reaction? Panic. But Maya, that's so far. What if you get sick? What if I get sick? How will you afford living there? It's dangerous. You should stay closer to home. The state university has programs. She didn't forbid me from going. She just made the prospect so emotionally fraught, painted such grim pictures of disaster and loneliness, hers and mine, that I caved. I went to the state university, 20 minutes from her house. I told myself it was the practical choice, the financially responsible choice. But deep down, I knew I'd let her guilt me out of my dream. I majored in environmental science instead of writing. It felt more sensible. More justifiable. The pattern continued. Career choices always tilted towards proximity. Apartments were vetted for ease of access for her. Vacations involved elaborate negotiations about how long I could be away, constant check-ins required. When I started dating Ben, a surgical resident working insane hours, she was initially frosty. A doctor? HMMPH. They're never around. You'll be lonely, you know. Like me. She only warmed up slightly when she realized having a doctor in the family could be useful. Does he do house calls? She asked, only half joking. Over the years, I'd tried setting boundaries. Feeble attempts, usually. Saying no to a last-minute demand, trying to explain I needed space. It always ended the same way, tears, accusations of selfishness, reminders of her sacrifices, and me eventually folding, apologizing, consumed by guilt. She was a master manipulator, playing the victim card with heartbreaking skill. She wasn't overtly cruel or abusive in the ways people usually imagine. It was softer, more insidious. Death by 1,000 paper cuts of emotional obligation. My Aunt Carol, Mom's younger sister, saw some of it. She lives a few towns over, has her own family, her own life. She'd occasionally make comments, "Joanne relies on you a lot, Maya." Or, "You need to live your own life too, honey." But she never directly intervened. Maybe she knew it was futile. Maybe she had her own history with my mom's tactics. When I tried talking to her about it once, she just sighed. "Your mother. She loves you very much. But she's always been Needy. Since we were kids. Just try to be patient with her. Patience. The prescription I'd been taking my whole life, and it was starting to feel like poison. The weeks following the disastrous lunch were a masterclass in passive aggression and guilt amplification. First came the silence. My calls went to voicemail. Texts were left unread. Then, the carefully orchestrated messages through Aunt Carol. Your mother isn't doing well, Maya. She's barely eating. Just staring out the window. Or, she mentioned her heart palpitations are back. The stress, you know. Then came the direct appeals, laced with martyrdom. Voicemails left in the middle of the night, her voice thick with exhaustion or perhaps tears. Maya, darling, I was just thinking about that little cafe we used to go to when you were small. Remember? Before everything got so complicated. I miss those days. Or, I know you think I'm being difficult. Maybe I am. It's just hard to imagine my life without you nearby. Everything feels so uncertain now. She tried leveraging practical matters. Who's going to help me with my taxes this year? You always handle that. The gutter needs cleaning before winter, I can't possibly get up on a ladder anymore. What about my doctor's appointments? You always drive me. Each query was a tiny dart dipped in guilt, aimed squarely at my sense of responsibility. Ben was my rock through all this. He listened patiently to my rants, my tears, my agonizing back and forths. He never told me what to do, but he gently pointed out the patterns. Maya, she's done this before, right? Every time you've tried to take a step towards independence? College? Moving into your own apartment? Dating me? He was right. Each milestone had been met with some level of resistance, some flavor of guilt trip. This Germany thing was just the biggest step yet, so the reaction was proportionally larger. This is emotional blackmail, honey, Ben said softly one night, holding me while I cried after a particularly manipulative call from Mom. She's making her happiness entirely dependent on you sacrificing yours. That's not love. It's control. Hearing him say it out loud solidified something in me. It wasn't just about Germany anymore. It was about the entire suffocating dynamic. It was about 30 years of being Joanne's emotional support human, her retirement plan, her reason for being, while my own needs and dreams were consistently sidelined or framed as betrayals. The turning point, the moment the simmering resentment finally boiled over into decisive action, came about 3 weeks after the initial announcement. I'd been trying to maintain contact, calling regularly despite the strained conversations, trying to involve her gently in my plans, showing her pictures of Freiburg, talking about setting up easy video calls. She'd meet every attempt with sighs, noncommittal murmurs, or abrupt subject changes back to her own anxieties. Then, one Saturday morning, I got a call from Aunt Carol. Her voice was tight with alarm. Maya, you need to get down here. Your mother had a fall. My blood ran cold. What? Is she okay? What happened? Did you call 911? No, she won't let me, Carol said quickly. She tripped on the rug in the living room. She says her ankle might be broken. She's refusing to go to the ER unless you take her. She's just sitting on the sofa, won't let me touch her, saying only you know how to help her. My mind raced. A fall. A possibly broken ankle. Refusing medical attention unless I drove an hour to take her? It pinged every alarm bell I had. This felt theatrical. Calculated. Especially the timing, just as I was starting to research flights and make concrete plans for the move. Aunt Carol, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice calm. If she might have broken her ankle, she needs an ambulance or someone needs to take her to the ER now. Not in an hour or more when I can get there. What if it's serious? I know, Maya, I know. I told her that. But she's being stubborn. She just keeps saying she needs you. Carol sounded genuinely stressed, caught in the middle. Ben, who had overheard my side of the conversation, was shaking his head, his expression grim. Something inside me snapped. The years of manipulation, the emotional blackmail, the endless guilt trips, they coalesced into a single point of white-hot anger. This felt like the ultimate play, using a potential health crisis, real or exaggerated, to reel me back in, to prove my indispensability, to derail my plans. Aunt Carol, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. I need you to do something for me. I need you to call 911. Tell them your sister has fallen, may have broken her ankle, and is refusing other transport to the hospital. Let the professionals handle it. Maya. She'll be furious. She specifically said. I don't care what she specifically said, I interrupted, the anger making my voice shake. If she's genuinely hurt, she needs proper medical attention immediately. If she's not, well, then the EMTs can assess that. But I am not driving down there under these circumstances. This has gone too far. There was a stunned silence on the other end. Maya. Are you sure? Yes, I said firmly. Call them. Please. It's the right thing to do for her health, regardless of anything else. Let me know what they say. I hung up, my heart pounding. Ben put his arms around me. You did the right thing, he murmured. The responsible thing, actually. Relief washed over me, quickly followed by a fresh wave of anxiety. What if she was seriously hurt? What if this backfired spectacularly? About 20 minutes later, Aunt Carol called back, sounding frazzled. Okay, the paramedics came. They checked her out. It's not broken. Looks like a bad sprain. They advised her to go get it x-rayed just in case, but she refused once they said it wasn't an obvious fracture. She's livid, Maya. Absolutely furious. She knows you told me to call them. She said. She said you don't care if she lives or dies. I closed my eyes. Of course. Instead of relief that it wasn't broken, she focused on the perceived betrayal, me not rushing to her side, me involving outsiders. Is she okay, though? I asked quietly. Really? She'll be fine, Carol sighed. Ankles wrapped up, she's got ice on it. But emotionally? She's a wreck. Or pretending to be. Honestly, with her, who knows? She told me to tell you not to bother calling or visiting. She said she doesn't have a daughter anymore. The words hit hard, even though I'd half expected them. But the anger was still there, overriding the guilt for perhaps the first time ever. This stunt, this manipulation, had been a bridge too far. It wasn't just about Germany anymore. It was about my sanity. My future. My right to exist outside of her orbit. That evening, Ben and I sat down and booked my flight to Freiburg. One way. We started making concrete plans. Visa applications. Shipping quotes. German language tutors. Telling my work. Telling my friends. It felt terrifying and liberating all at once. The predicted fallout arrived swiftly. Mom went completely silent on me. No calls, no texts, nothing. But the flying monkeys, as the internet so aptly calls them, were activated. Distant relatives I barely spoke to started calling. Maya, honey, I heard about your poor mother. All alone, and now with that bad ankle. You really should reconsider this Germany thing. Family is important. Or, your mother is heartbroken. She devoted her life to you. How can you be so cold? Apparently, the narrative being spun was that I, the cruel and ungrateful daughter, had abandoned my ailing mother in her time of need to selfishly pursue a whim overseas, even refusing to help her after a serious injury. The sprained ankle became a terrible fall, her loneliness became crippling abandonment. I was painted as callous, selfish, mercenary. I tried explaining the situation to a couple of them, the history, the manipulation, the fellowship's importance, the ankle incident, but it was mostly useless. They'd already heard Mom's version, steeped in victimhood and designed to elicit sympathy. They heard my explanations as defensive excuses from a guilty conscience. After a few attempts, I stopped trying to justify myself. What was the point? They weren't interested in the truth, they were interested in the drama and siding with the perceived victim. The hardest part was the radio silence from Mom herself. Part of me, the conditioned part, desperately wanted to call her, apologize, smooth things over, make it okay again. The guilt was a physical ache sometimes. Had I been too harsh? Should I have handled the ankle thing differently? Maybe I should have just gone down there? But Ben kept reminding me of the bigger picture. Think about what would have happened if you had gone down there, Maya. She would have clung to you. Used the injury to delay your plans, to make you feel obligated to stay longer, maybe indefinitely. This wasn't just about the ankle. It was about control. He was right. I knew he was right. And every time the guilt threatened to overwhelm me, I thought about Freiburg. About the research, the opportunity, the chance to finally build a life on my own terms, not dictated by someone else's emotional needs. I sent Mom one final email before I left. I didn't jade, justify, argue, defend, explain. I just stated facts. My flight details. My new address and phone number in Germany. I told her I loved her, that I hoped one day she could understand, and that the door was open if she ever wanted a healthier relationship. I didn't apologize for my decision. I received no reply. The weeks leading up to my departure were a blur of packing, logistics, tearful goodbyes with friends, and quiet, determined planning with Ben. He was handling the US side of things, planning to visit as soon as possible and seriously looking into medical licensing pathways in Germany or telemedicine options. His unwavering support was the scaffolding holding me up. Saying goodbye to Aunt Carol was strange. She hugged me tightly. "Be happy, Maya," she whispered. "You deserve it. Your mom. She'll come around. Or she won't. But you have to live your life." It was the most direct acknowledgement she'd ever given of the situation, and I was grateful for it. The day I left, I almost expected Mom to show up at the airport, either for a tearful reconciliation or a dramatic final confrontation. She didn't. There was just nothing. An empty space where 30 years of enmeshment used to be. Getting on that plane felt like severing a cord. It was painful, terrifying, but also necessary. Like amputating a limb that had become gangrenous. You grieve the loss, but you do it to survive. The first few months in Freiburg were surreal. There was the excitement of the new job, the challenge of navigating a new country and language, the beauty of the city nestled against the Black Forest. My colleagues were welcoming, the work was stimulating, exactly as I'd hoped. I threw myself into it, partly out of passion, partly as a coping mechanism. Ben came for a 2-week visit about a month in, and it was wonderful. Having him there, exploring together, felt like confirmation that I'd made the right choice. We talked about the future, solidified plans for him to join me more permanently once his current obligations were met. Seeing my life moving forward, independent of my mother's orbit, felt incredibly empowering. But the ghost of the relationship lingered. I checked my email and phone compulsively at first, anticipating an angry message, a plea, anything. But there was only silence. Complete and utter silence from her side of the family, except for the occasional awkward Christmas card from Aunt Carol with a generic "hope you're well." The silence was, in its own way, harder than the arguments. It felt like erasure. Like I'd ceased to exist for her. Sometimes, late at night, the guilt would creep back in. Images of her alone in that house, maybe genuinely frail now, maybe regretting her stubbornness. Did I break her heart? Was I truly the monster she painted me as? I started seeing a therapist here in Freiburg. Thankfully, the institute had resources. Talking it through with a neutral third party was immensely helpful. She helped me unpack the decades of conditioning, identify the manipulation tactics, parentification, guilt tripping, victim mentality, boundary stomping. It was like a textbook checklist, and validate my feelings. She helped me understand that setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary for healthy relationships and self-preservation. She also helped me grieve the mother I wished I had, the supportive, unconditionally loving figure that Joanne could never consistently be. It's been almost a year now since I moved. Life is good. Really good. The work is fulfilling, I'm making friends, Ben and I are navigating the visa process for him, and I'm actually learning passable German. I feel lighter, more myself than I ever have before. The constant low-grade anxiety I used to live with, the feeling of always being on call for someone else's emotional needs, is gone. I didn't even realize how heavy it was until it was lifted. There has been zero contact from my mother. Nothing. Aunt Carol occasionally forwards messages, innocuous updates about neighbors or town gossip, never anything personal. It's like she's trying to maintain a fragile bridge without actually acknowledging the chasm beneath it. Sometimes I wonder if Mom thinks about me. If she regrets her reaction. If she misses me. Or if her anger and sense of betrayal have completely calcified her feelings. I try not to dwell on it. I've accepted that I can't control her feelings or her choices. I can only control mine. I sent her a birthday card a few months ago. Just a simple card, saying I was thinking of her. No return address needed, she knows where I am. No response, that's okay. It was more for me, I think. A gesture to say that despite everything, some connection remains, even if it's dormant and damaged. Choosing to leave, choosing my own life over the role she'd assigned me, was the hardest thing I've ever done. It felt like setting fire to my past. There are scars, absolutely. There's a lingering sadness for the relationship that imploded. There's grief. But there's also peace. A quiet, steady peace I never knew was possible. The freedom to make decisions, big or small, without running them through the filter of what will Mom think? Or how will this impact Mom? Is intoxicating. I know she likely tells people her daughter abandoned her. And maybe, from her perspective, I did. I abandoned the role she expected me to play. I abandoned the unspoken contract where my life was secondary to her comfort. I abandoned the pretense that our relationship was healthy. But I didn't abandon myself. For the first time, I chose me. My dreams. My future. My well-being. It cost me my relationship with my mother, at least for now, possibly forever. It caused ripples in judgment within the wider family. But standing here, breathing the clean air of the Black Forest, building a life I'm proud of with a partner who supports me unconditionally, I think it was worth it. The price of freedom was high, but the cost of staying would have been my entire self. So, Reddit, after pouring all this out, I guess I need to ask, did I do the right thing? Was severing ties, or at least enforcing this drastic distance after the manipulation became unbearable, the only way? Or am I the selfish, ungrateful daughter my mother believes me to be? What would you have done in my shoes?